Have you ever dreamed of cantering down the coast of Ireland? On this episode, we talk with Laura Hoover Lamb, owner of Ireland Equestrian Tours. Laura shares the ins and outs of what all the trip includes, how they can accommodate riders of all different levels and disciplines, what you should pack, and so much more. Visit www.irelandequestriantours.com to find more information on pricing and to look at the different itineraries. So when I was reading your bio, it was saying that you are both like Irish and American, so like a dual citizen.
Correct. I have dual citizenship. So my mom is from Ireland. She was the only one who came to the States back in the 60s. And that's my connection with Ireland. She's the only one who came over. So most of my relatives on my mom's side are still in Ireland. And then of course my dad is from Massachusetts. So, but that's my connection with Ireland.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. So then how did horses in your life come to be?
Oh, it's a good story. So originally, I'll take a step back. So I'm actually a Georgia girl. I'm actually from Atlanta. Both of my parents worked for Delta, and that's how we ended up in Georgia because that's the hub. So my mother rode in Ireland, and when she came to the States, she always had horses, and we always had. And my parents had a small farm, out south of Atlanta, and so I've been riding since I was 6, and my mom hunted in Ireland and then hunted here. And so, I grew up doing, the hunts in Georgia. I did, the hunter jumper scene. My heart horse, by the way, is from Ohio when I did the hunters. Yes, he's an appendix quarter horse. I've had all sorts of horses. And he is my absolute heart horse. So Ohio is near and dear to my heart. But so I grew up doing, a little bit of hunting, a little bit of hunters. I turned to eventing later on, and that's kind of my riding career. How I got started in this business, I graduated from college and I had a corporate career. I actually spent many years being the executive assistant to C-level, executives, chairman of the boards, CEOs. And I continue to ride. My parents always had horses, or my mom always had horses. But I was out of the competition kind of scene for a while. And then probably in my my mid 30s, I got back into it again. And at that time, I was also questioning my corporate career. It was. It was like my time wasn't my time. And that's the case when you are an executive assistant. I traveled with my executives, I managed everything about their life. And, and I didn't really have a life, but I didn't know what kind of else to do. And so I started, looking at what are my strengths, in my current role. And I did all of the event planning for some of our big companies. And we're talking like 3,000 to 5,000 people conventions, and I would do all the flights, and the breakout sessions for these big meetings. And so I knew I had that. And I knew I wanted to do something that I was passionate about, because I saw so many people get burned out in their careers. And then, they wake up one day, they're in their 40s. I mean, they're in their 50s or 60s, and they're like, they don't know what else to do, or their company downsized and they have no other choice, because they're let go. So I started thinking about, what do I want to do? And I've always gone to Ireland. One of the advantages of being an airline kid is that we have wonderful benefits with the airlines. And so, we were always over back and forth to Ireland several times a year. And so initially I started the company as just doing private guided tours in Ireland. It had nothing to do with horses. I would just do, tours around all over Ireland, Northern Ireland, and, the southern part of Ireland. But the market of that is a little saturated. There's a lot of people who are in that game. And I started noticing that, because I would go over and ride, we would hunt over there and I'd ride over there. And so if people went over, they would say, Laura, where should I go riding? Where should I go riding? And so I call it this divine intervention. So I went to a conference in Las Vegas. It was a luxury travel conference, years ago. And I was in a breakout session, and the keynote speaker said, whatever you're doing, do it well. Own that market well. It doesn't matter if you were doing underwater basket weaving, own that market. If you can own that, niche, if you can own that market, you will do well. You can do, and he, of course, he named off, 1,000 things you can do. And at the time I was kind of thinking about, about the whole riding tours, but I thought, gosh, I don't know if it would be well received. I don't know if anybody would want to do that. I mean, I know that there's other companies out there that offer it, but not just Ireland in itself. So, but I came home from that conference and I took a giant leap of faith and I completely rebranded my company. And I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do riding tours in Ireland. And basically what I did is I took the blueprint from the private guided tours, and then I just added the horse riding on top of it. So basically they're turnkey vacations. You literally get on a plane, land in Dublin, land in Shannon, or land in Belfast, and we take care of the rest. And so that's how it kind of came about. And my first partner is actually in Northern Ireland, because that's where my mother's from. My mother's actually from County Antrim in Northern Ireland. And so my first partner is on the North Coast. And that's the rolling video you see on our webpage. That is our North Coast itineraries. So that's kind of the long story of how I got into this.
And how long have you done this for? How many?
So this will be our 7th year, but we don't count 2020. So
I don't think any of us do.
It's our 7th year. Yes.
Wow, 7 years. My goodness.
Yes. And in the beginning, we just started out, I took what I knew or what I learned from my corporate career, because I learned a lot in my corporate career. It's just not for me. Some people are built for it. Sure. Some people aren't. I'm not, and but I got a lot of skills from that. And one of them was the skills that I learned from that was growing slowly. So my first 2 years was literally referrals only. It was just somebody who knew who rode, who wanted to go to Ireland, and I planned their vacation for them. And I did that for probably 2 or 3 years, and then slowly started putting myself out there. And then we started doing big trade shows, like we do, the Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event. We just did Maryland Fair, Fair Hill, and I do eventing, so that's kind of where I stayed, in that kind of, in that kind of bubble. I mean, certainly, we're going to branch out to there's only so many trade shows we can do a year. Of course, they've all been, kind of canceled the last couple of years with COVID. But I started real slow and kind of grew, and here we are.
So you have to have a huge group of people to help you. I mean, that do this. I'm trying to put it in my mind. If I were to do something like this and put this together, and then all these people stationed these places, because if you land and you take care of the rest, that's a lot to take care of.
There is. We are. It's actually just myself, and I have a girl who works with me in Virginia, on the state side, and then across the pond, loads of people. I've got drivers. I've got so many hoteliers that I work with, B&Bs, my riding partners, and in Ireland, you have to be approved. Like there's certification in Ireland. You just can't I open up a farm, I'm teaching riding lessons, and I'm doing trekking. I mean, there is there's insurance, there's certifications, and it's through AIRE. So all of our partners that we work with are AIRE certified. That means they're inspected, the horses are inspected, the insurance, but Ireland's known as land of the horse. I don't know if you guys know that. The Irish are known. Well, they're known for a couple of things. They're known for definitely horses. I think Guinness and golf. That's what they're really kind of known for. So based on that, we have a lot of partners that we can draw from all over the island of Ireland that offer a little bit, all of our treks are a little bit different of what we offer, because we ride kind of all over Ireland.
So a group of my friends years ago, we were in a hunt club, were able to go over and hunt, which was wonderful. And they came back and had these wonderful stories about these great, wonderful Irish cob horses that were stout, and they got on them and they were like, are they going to clear the hedge? And they just flew, and they're so clever with their feet. So
they are.
These little Irish horses, they're probably not all little, but I mean, we were amazed because we're used to thoroughbreds and things like that, and that. But they just had the best stories. So these horses that you have are amazing, and we looked at your pictures and they are beautiful, but are they more of like the I don't know. Can you explain what your horses are like?
Absolutely. So, okay. So you mentioned the Irish cob, so I'll start with that. So we do have a lot of our partners that have cobs for that reason. They're very sure-footed. They are comfortable. They have a great brain. But here's the thing. This is the big, like, kind of, what do I say? The myth about them. They have an engine. I mean, they will plod around all day long, but if you want to turn on their engine, they'll do have an engine.
They'll go.
And actually the Irish cobs are what we call gypsy vanners here.
Okay.
So it's the same, it's the same kind of breed, but there's a lot of my partners that use them for several reasons. They're, like I said, they have a really great brain. They're good all-rounders. They can carry weight for long periods of time because they've always been kind of traditionally kind of a workhorse.
Yes.
But they're pretty athletic. Now we also have partners that do we have Irish drafts, we have Irish sport horses, we have the Connemara ponies. So that's kind of, pretty much the base of the horses that we have there, but there's a lot of cobs that we use, and cobs also range in height. I think people think that they're like the little hobbit horses, like they're all like 14 hands, but you can get them up to 16.2, 16.3. Some of them are bigger bone than others, but we use them a lot on our North Coast. That was always and it's funny because when I talk to people, some people they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be one of those cobs," and we'll go, "Well, why?" And they're like, "Well, I just, I want something with an engine." And it's like, well, they have an engine. And some of the places that we ride is literally you're traversing a coastline, looking down onto the ocean. You don't want to be on a, on a flighty thoroughbred there. You want to be on a horse that is pretty unflappable. But yeah, so those are the kind of horses that we use. We have horses for it, but we even have a partner who has a couple of Clydesdales, just for because we do have men that join us, and men can be bigger, and so but they're mostly Irish drafts, sport horses, and the cobs.
So do you have to, when somebody's calling in and saying, I want to do one of these trips, do you have to ask them what their riding skills are? Or if the group is like varied, where some people are really,
like say the wife is a rider, but the husband has gotten a horse like once.
Nothing.
Right. Well, I think that we have enough information on the website that under each itinerary that you can kind of gauge, because I do have riding level under all the itineraries.
Okay.
And most of our itineraries, I would say the vast majority of our itineraries can accommodate a range of riding ability. By that, I mean somebody who can walk, who can post the trot, might be comfortable doing a little 2-point canters, and little not long. We don't do big long canters because a lot of our treks are longer, so they don't want to tire out the horses. So these are just nice little stretch your leg kind of canters. There'll be the opportunity to do a big beach run if that's what you want to do, but that's a big thing. I think people are thinking that we're like blasting all over the beach. I mean, we will blast all over the beach, but it's like a democracy at that point if anybody wants to. But typically they're just short kind of bursts. But I got off topic here. So most of our itineraries can accommodate kind of a range of, riding, experiences. And if someone doesn't ride, that's no problem at all. Because I kind of incorporated the other business, and we learned really quickly that if a rider is going with a non-rider, like especially a husband-wife team, we've got to make that non-rider comfortable and entertained. So we do anything. So we arrange all sorts of activities for them. Anything from golf to fly fishing to whiskey tours to regional, history tours, you name it, we can do it, So we can definitely do, riders and non-riders, and we can accommodate a range of experiences. Now we do have a few itineraries that you have to be more of an advanced rider because there's going to be a little bit faster beach rides. We do, and we do more than trekking. That is the base. That is the majority of our bases is trekking. There's no doubt about that. But we do hunt in the fall. So we do the traditional hunts, and we also do drag hunts, and that does require more of an advanced rider. And then we do some cross country. If somebody's interested in doing cross country jumping, we do. We have holidays at Castle Leslie Estate, which is wonderful for people who want to jump around. And the fences are they're so inviting. I mean, they all are around 2.3, maybe 2.6.
Yeah.
So they're not big fences at all, and you kind of follow, your instructor all around the estate. It's so much fun.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what's the majority or what is the percentage of ride time that you get on these trips? Is there like a percentage per trip or is it varied between the trips?
It just depends on the itinerary. Every itinerary is a little bit different. I have people who will call up and go, I'm going to Ireland and I want to ride in Ireland. I want to be as much as I can in the saddle. And we will say, great, I know exactly where I'm going to send them to Westport.
Okay.
I'm going to send them up to the North Coast, or I'm going to send them down into Killarney, because those are like kind of fuller day rides. And when I say full day rides, I mean, you're out for 6 hours, on the ride. Connemara, we do it is there as well, but you're stopping for, refreshments, you're stopping for breaks, you're stopping for, to eat lunch. But we also have people that say, we don't want to be in the saddle all the time. So we have a couple itineraries where you ride two, like maybe 2 of the days, you're just riding 2 hours. And then you have a free day, and then it's followed up by 3 longer days. So we have something for literally everybody.
So say we were going to go and we pack what we think we need to take, our boots, our, whatever it is that we need, helmet, or whatever, I don't know. What happens when somebody comes and they're like, oh, forgot this, that, the other. Yep.
Well, you're in luck, because there's tack stores everywhere in Ireland.
Okay, there you go. Get your clothes there.
So we do. We've identified all our tack stores. So there's definitely a tack store on the way to the West Coast you can stop at. There's a tack store on the way to the North Coast. In fact, we usually include that in a stop. So we don't include drivers in our itineraries, because some people actually want to drive. Not a lot, but some. Otherwise, we just have a driver pick everybody up. It's in addition to the cost of the itinerary. When you have 2, 3, 4 riders going, it's cheaper than Uber. Honestly, it is. And it's just, you walk out of, baggage claim, there's your driver holding your little sign, that has your name on it. You go to your car and you're whisked off to go ride, for your holiday. But on the way to the North Coast, we always stop at Old Mill Saddlery. So everybody, because somebody's going to forget something. And we give you a packing list, by the way. So there's a packing list of, yes, no. You will be fully prepared by the time your Ireland riding vacation comes along. And so you get a packing list,
clothing wise, and that type of thing. Like, is it cold? Is it warm? Is it, that type of thing? Knowing how much to bring, that type of thing too. Then.
So yes, so actually Ireland has a pretty temperate climate, and by that I mean it never really, like, I'm in Massachusetts right now, and it's way colder in Massachusetts than it is in Ireland. It's because of the Gulf Stream. However, it is windy, and it can rain. So first of all, there's a saying that the Irish, and we say this, that there's no bad weather in Ireland. It's only inappropriate clothing. So we dressing in layers is key. In layers is key. And it never really gets like super cold. I mean, in January, obviously it's going to be cold. It's cold everywhere in January. February, same way. March, it's starting to, warm up a little bit. And in the summer, you really can expect, I mean, the last couple of years, there's been some days in the 90s, which is crazy because a lot of places do not have air conditioning. I mean, it's only for a short amount of time. I mean, it's not for weeks on end. But you can definitely get, some warm weather over there. I think between April and September, April to October, you can expect pretty decent weather. And when it rains, obviously in the winter months, it'll rain longer. And this is another thing I tell people. Ireland's rain reminds me of Florida rain, if you know what I'm talking about. Like it'll rain in the morning and then it's fine in the afternoon. It just kind of blows in and blows out. We ride a lot on the coast, and the coast has its own weather pattern. So if you wake up and it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be raining all day, don't believe it, because it can only rain for a couple of hours.
Okay. Oh, it just sounds wonderful. What do you do with the people that don't want to come back home? That would be me.
We put them to work. we put them to work.
That'd be fine.
Put them to work.
That'd be fine too. Yes. Sounds wonderful. I was trying to think of what else. It just, the pictures that I saw are so gorgeous of the places that are there. Ireland itself is so gorgeous, but
it's beautiful.
the water areas and the castles, and then the little trappy jumps and things like that are so gorgeous. I don't know how you explain it to somebody unless you really take a look, because it's absolutely beautiful.
It's difficult too, and especially when you're trying to explain to a client, they're looking at all the itineraries, and based on what they're looking for, we've got like 3 itineraries that we think that they would like to do, and it's really hard to kind of explain how just beautiful some of the
Yes.
places that they're going to be. You just kind of have to be there, to kind of see it. But, I think that, we try to do a lot with video. We'll be doing a lot more with video this year now that we can travel again. We started traveling again Ireland officially opened back up last year or at the end of July. Obviously everybody in 2020, nobody can travel. And so we had some people move to till July of last year. Some are moving this year. But this year, we plan on doing a lot with video. I mean, everything is so modern now.
Yes,
I can do literally live feeds from the back of a horse in Ireland.
Wow.
And sometimes I feel like the connection in Ireland, the phone connection is better than what I have right here sitting in Massachusetts. So,
do you are your packages now? I know you have certain set dates or times that the different packages are for. Do you have longer? I mean, what is your typical number of days then if you're choosing one of the trips or whatever? Does it go so many days, whatever?
So we have two types of itineraries. We have some that have definite start dates, and they're all listed on the itineraries. This is it, and then we have some that are open, our Westport itinerary and our North Coast. You can start on any day.
Okay.
So you can show up on a Tuesday, you can show up on a Wednesday, you can show up on a Thursday.
And
Typically, Yep. And we ride year round. I mean, if somebody called us in January, I actually had a rider 2 years ago ride on a beach on New Year's Day in Northern Ireland, so we ride year round. So, so we, a lot of our, not a lot, some of our operators, our partners, will, they stop at the end of October, but we have quite a few that ride year round. And our holidays, we just added what we call short breaks onto the website. So that is 3 and 4 night holidays, because some people don't want to ride the whole time. They just want to ride for maybe 3 days, and then they want to go see Ireland on their own. So that's why we kind of developed those packages. Our regular packages are about 5 to 7 nights. And we base those kind of on, most of our clients are American. We do have some Canadians, but I would definitely say the American market is our market. And we based it on vacation time that Americans get off. We don't have a lot of people who have 14 days that they can go to Ireland and go on vacation. It's usually 6 nights, 5 nights. But all of our itineraries, you can add pre-nights, you can add post-nights, and we can arrange all of that. So if you said, we want to do this 5-night itinerary, but we want to be there actually for, 10 days, can you help us? Absolutely. We can arrange anything on the front end. We can arrange it on the back end. We can arrange a little bit on the front and the back. It's completely turnkey.
How many days do you guys want to go for? No. It just sounds wonderful.
Now, the places...
Go ahead.
The places that they're going to when they're not riding, the castles and things like that, are these more of the touristy things? Are they more local things? Do you get to see things that people wouldn't normally see, or what is that like?
So we do have kind of some of the touristy stops, because some people want to do the touristy thing, but most of the time, because you're riding, you're going to be kind of with, locals, the family, and definitely off the beaten path. Some of the castles that we offer, Castle Leslie is one of our big partners. Castle Leslie is only an hour and a half from Belfast and an hour and a half from Dublin. So it is the perfect, some people have that bucket list. I want to stay in a castle before, I go back home, we're all in Ireland. So it's a perfect place to end your vacation, either on the West Coast or from the North Coast. And some of the other, castles that I said touristy. I mean, they're famous. There's Ashford Castle is one of the most famous castles in all of Ireland. It actually was the summer home of the Guinness family. Some people have just a bucket list that they want to stay in a castle, but there are so many castles in Ireland that nobody's ever even heard of, that are just dotted all through the Midlands. And there's actually a couple that we ride at that's down in the Midlands. We'll stay for a night ride and then make our way down to the southern part of Ireland.
What is your favorite place to ride? You particularly, since you've seen so many, what do you like the most? I know.
I always get to ask that question. Everything. I do. I never have an answer. I never have an answer
to ask.
No. But that's usually what people ask when they call. They're like, "Well, where's your favorite place to ride?"
Yeah.
We just want to go to Ireland. So, I like the southern part of Ireland because that is kind of your classic quintessential Ireland with the Ring of Kerry and the Dingle Peninsula. You know, it is what people think about when they think of Ireland. You know, it's I love the weather down there, but my family's from Northern Ireland. You know, it's got those epic, coastlines, and I don't know if you've ever seen the HBO show Game of Thrones. That's where a lot of it was filmed because of that rugged. On a clear day, you can see Scotland. You'll see Scotland right there as you're riding down the coastline. So that's a very dramatic ride. And then of course you've got your West Coast, Connemara is just world famous. And, I love Westport, with Clew Bay. Clew Bay is an area of Westport that we ride at that has an island for every day of the year. So there's like 365 little islands that dot this bay that we kind of ride through. So it's really hard to tell like what my favorite is. I can usually, if I'm helping somebody make their decision, I can usually narrow it down by kind of what they want to do at night, kind of what they are looking to see or do. We base a lot of our rides in little towns where the evening is kind of on your own. Now we offer what we call, we have a couple of point-to-point rides, and that's what a lot of people call us about. They a point-to-point ride where you're actually riding from point to point. So you get your horse, you ride for 6 hours, you get off your horse, you turn your horse out. We take you to your hotel for that night, you have dinner, and you get up and you do it again. And you're kind of making your way down, a path. And we've got probably 3 or 4 itineraries that are a true, like kind of point to point. We have some itineraries that you ride out for several hours for the day, and then you come back for the evening. And then the next day you kind of continue where you were and keep riding out. It's not a true point to point because you actually come back to the same place at night. But there are a lot of people who don't want to do a point to point because you are packing and unpacking every single night.
Oh wow!
It definitely it's fun. It is an adventure, but you are packing. Those are the itineraries that were like pack light because you're going to be traveling with that. Each day.
Yes.
We would not do all of that. We're heavy
but
packers.
A lot of our itineraries, the evening is yours some of them have dinner included, some don't. The ones that don't, we didn't include dinner because you're in a really cool like coastal town with tons of pubs and tons of restaurants where you can go eat on your own. And we have found, we used to include dinner in all the itineraries, and what we found, with guest feedback is that people wanted to kind of do their own thing at night. Because you're kind of riding with a group during the day, and you kind of want to do your thing at night. And I don't know if you guys know this, but pubs have some of the best food. It's such good food. The food scene in Ireland, I am a huge foodie. I love food. Love it. I'm always talking about food. I'm always posting about food too. It's
So
on
cute.
Instagram.
You're talking to the right group then. We like it too.
The food scene in Ireland is pretty amazing. Years and years ago when I would go and see my granny, when I was younger, I mean, it literally was fish and chips and potatoes. I mean, this is what it was. But now it's some of the best food. They have everything from wood-fired pizzas to, those gourmet burgers to, of course, your traditional dishes of your, Guinness stew and your fish and chips and stuff. But it's a great, great food scene.
Do you have any accommodations for people that have food allergies or eat a certain way, like vegan?
Yes. Well, it's interesting because Ireland has one of the highest numbers of people with celiac disease or Irish. And as such, Ireland was one of the first countries that did gluten-free. So gluten-free is everywhere in Ireland. And it has it listed on the menu. And I don't quote me here. I mean, I'm on a live podcast. Don't quote me here. I don't know if it's required or if just everybody does it, but on the menus, everything is listed out. If you have a shellfish allergy, it's listed. If it has wheat in it, it's listed. If you have lactose intolerance, it's listed. But on our itineraries, what we can't
you can go, Gretchen.
What we can accommodate is we definitely can accommodate vegetarian, no problem, gluten-free, no problem, and vegan with advance notice. And of course, if you're dairy and anything like that, it's really easy to do. They're very accommodating over there with that.
I think the one thing that my son, he had gone over, he just loved, he talked about the pubs. And of course, then you have this idea in your mind of what they're like. But he just loved it because he said, if there's an open chair at your table or at your booth, that someone will come and sit, and then you just talk. And then as the night goes on, the most wonderful thing when they start to sing and, all these things, play music. Oh, I just thought how wonderful, because to see that with local people, I mean, that you can't beat it. It just
Well,
sounded wonderful.
that's usually the biggest guest feedback. When we talk to our guests when they come back, of course they love the riding, and but they always talk about the people. They always talk about the friendly Irish people, the pub experiences, how just open the people are. I've got a couple of stories for later on for Canter Banter, which talks about how friendly the Irish are, but they really are. And I always tell people that I think Ireland, and of course I'm biased saying this, but I feel like Ireland is one of those countries that your first trip outside the United States, go to Ireland. It's English speaking. Most people have, a connection to Ireland somewhat. The Irish have a very big connection with the United States, and you're treated like family immediately, and they're very helpful. And that's always the big feedback is how, our guides and just the Irish people in general.
I might move there. No.
Well, we all move as a tribe, so we're all gonna be going.
We are a tribe. We're all together.
We hear that a lot. We definitely hear that a lot.
So what does travel look, this is like the not fun part, I guess, but what does travel look like for vaccinated, non-vaccinated, so forth?
Okay, so the rules were changing like this forever. It was insane to keep up with it. So this is the rules right now. So to go into Ireland, you do not have to be vaccinated, but here are the rules. Okay, so if you're vaccinated, you show up with your CDC card, and then you fill out an online form called a passenger locator form. And that's the only thing you need if you're vaccinated. If you are not vaccinated, you need to take a PCR test no less than 72 hours before you land in Ireland. And then you'll have your little test, and then that's what you need to get into Ireland.
Okay.
If you're going up to Northern Ireland, they have their own rules, which is different from the UK rules.
Okay.
So Northern Ireland is the UK. So in Northern Ireland, you do have to be vaccinated. If you're not, you have to quarantine. But if you are vaccinated, you just need to have your CDC card. You need to do another passenger locator form to say that you are going to be in Northern Ireland. And then at this time, they still are doing their day 2 COVID test, which is it's like a lateral flow test. So, and most people are coming up from Dublin, even though there is a Belfast airport. There's not a direct flight from the US to Belfast. You have to connect out of London. So most people come up through Dublin. And when they do, the driver just whips them past the Belfast airport. They get out, they do their COVID test, and they're on to their riding vacation, and they don't give it a second thought. So that's the travel front right now. For the winter with Omicron, the Irish government had a rule put on Irish pubs that they close at 8:30 as opposed to 3 a.m. Until the end of the month. And then that's supposed to, expire at the end of the month. But my grandmother always said nothing good ever happens after midnight in an Irish pub. So closing at 8:30 is probably not a bad
Sounds
thing.
like my dad. Said the same thing.
But yeah, no. So Ireland, it's open for business. I will say that, they take the same precautions here that there as we do here. Some you wear a mask into a restaurant, sometime, and then you take it off the table. They do some sort of social distancing, but I think it's all kind of relaxing a little bit right now. I think we definitely had. We don't have anybody traveling right now, but we had loads of people traveling, in September, October, November, and honestly, they said, once they went through the airport, because you do most of all of your paperwork on the state side. When you get to Ireland, they're like, welcome to Ireland. They don't even ask for anything. It's the airlines who do it here. So by the time you land in Ireland, you're just, you'll see people wear masks. Your driver will have a mask, you'll see people. But the feedback we got was, you really didn't know anything was going on.
Great.
They've got their sanitation stations and things like that, but it's open for business, and we're hopeful for, we're really optimistic for this coming season. All the airlines are adding more routes, so we're open for business.
How far in advance do people need to book with you? Like, are you booked out quite a ways, or?
I have had people literally call me 4 days before they leave, going, "Do you have availability
That
on
would
your
be
rides?"
fun.
So yeah,
Bye-bye.
so typically people
See
will
ya.
book out. Typically I would say the average booking is probably 6 to 9 months out, just because people are having to get vacation time, and it's they're booking their riding holiday, and then they have to book their airfare. That's big chunks of money. Our deposits, this year what we did is we kind of looked at all our deposits, and we've kind of lowered them a little bit, to make it a little bit more friendlier. So you're not paying out that big chunk in addition to your airfare. But typically it's 6 to 9 months out that people will book. Some people book out further, but we could handle somebody if they wanted to come tomorrow. I mean, we would, if we have availability, we can take you.
Pack and dash.
What's the largest group you've accommodated?
Oh, I had a group of riders from Texas, and they were polo and hunter riders, and there was 36 of them.
Oh my god.
And they were all
Always bigger
different
in
levels
Texas.
of riders.
Wow.
That'd be a
Yes,
rowdy
but
fun
this is-
group.
But this is how our rides work. So on our itineraries, you'll see a date. You can book in by yourself. You can come with 2 people. You can call me and say, we have 6 that we want to do that itinerary. Or you can say, I got 10 friends who want to ride, and what itinerary can we go on? So all of our itineraries, you can book by yourself if you wanted to. We have a lot of solo travelers, especially women. That was very hot before 2020. I'm sure it's going to be again, but I had a lot of single riders.
You're not allowed to go
single
without
lady-
us.
Single rider riders that would come over.
I'm going to Ireland.
And then and for our group rides, if you do come with a group, we have several partners that will, they offer all sorts of incentives, from reduced rates per person, or the person who's organizing and bringing the group, they ride and stay for free. It just, if people want to come with their own group. Now our groups, when you're there, so say like you're booking into, let's just say North Coast again, or any of them actually. So typically the average group size is about 8 riders.
That's
we
what I was
do
going to
have
ask.
some.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And most of, I would say all of our itineraries go out with 2 guides. So you have your main guide in the front, and your back, guide in the back. And so if you do have, not so much people of different skill, because we really work hard to make sure that because it's going to make everybody happier.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to put
Right.
a rider who's going to be overfaced on a ride, or you don't want to put somebody that's going to be so bored,
Right.
Yeah.
So we really match up with what rides. So when you're out there with your group, even if it's just yourself and a friend and your other people, you're pretty well matched with, the level of ride. But just say, for example, you're tired. That happens, because a lot, we have, quite a few people who they don't ride regularly.
Right.
You would think that they would,
Yeah.
but they don't. That's
Right.
actually not the profile. The profile are people who are weekend trail riders, or people who rode for years and years and years and didn't, and they have always wanted to go on a riding vacation. And so, they might not be as rider fit as some of us who ride, 5-6 days a week. And so in that case, they're like, I don't want to go, get cantering down the beach.
Right.
So they go off with their own guide this way, and the others go this way.
Oh,
So
nice.
that is so
it's really
sweet.
set.
Wow.
Yeah, the pace is really set for everybody, to make sure everybody has, a good time,
Very cool.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I have one other question, though, and it doesn't quite pertain to this, but your beautiful tack hooks in the back, or that you have behind you, I see are unusual, and they're very pretty. So I wanted to ask you about that. They're so pretty, and I see all
I
kinds
bought
of things
those.
hanging
Okay,
on.
so I am such an estate sale junkie.
I love it.
going into
Oh, we are
orchards.
too.
I'm sorry, that's just beautiful.
So they are actually they look like rebar, okay? But they're like African horns. But
I wondered.
they were actually from my old tack room in Georgia that I brought up. And the first time we hung them up, we didn't put the anchors in the wall, and they just pulled out
down.
of the wall.
They're so pretty.
I'm happy with that.
I
But
love
thank
it.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Looks very pretty. I just wondered. So
Yeah,
thank you.
very
So
Yeah, if you want to
So-
go ahead and just talk about
accommodations, right? What does that look like then?
So all of our itineraries come standard with nightly accommodations and a daily full Irish breakfast. And it is and I don't know if you know what a full Irish breakfast is.
No.
I will tell you, this is what it's famous for. So it is typically eggs, bacon, sausage, fried potato bread. If you're in the north, you get fried soda bread. Sometimes you get baked beans, and that's your cooked breakfast. And then that also, and mushrooms. They've got roasted mushrooms and roasted onion, roasted tomatoes. That's your full Irish breakfast. But if with that, in addition to that, it also comes standard with homemade granolas and cereals and toast, and so it's a fully cooked Irish breakfast. Literally, if you ate breakfast, it would set you up for the day and you're ready for dinner. So it comes with your accommodations, and it comes with your daily full Irish breakfast. Some of our partners include lunch out on the trail, especially the ones that are out all day. It'll include a picnic lunch. Our West Coast partner and our North Coast partner, they stop at pubs for lunch, so you can have you can have your pub lunch before you continue riding. And then some of them include dinner, like our Connemara partner and our County Clare partner does dinner, again, because you're kind of out. And our accommodations are typically bed and breakfast. We do have some guest house accommodations, and the pricing is based on 2 people sharing. You obviously can get your own room. And that's no problem. It's a single supplement that we just add in if you want your own room. But your bedroom would have its own ensuite bathroom. So I think that's kind of one of the myths in like in Ireland, that people think in a B&B you're sharing like the owner of the house's bathroom. And it's absolutely not true.
Okay, that's nice.
And
that's important. Yeah.
It's really important.
It is important.
So that's mostly what we use is the B&Bs and the guest houses. We have a few, our Connemara, you have actually a choice between staying in a bed and breakfast or a hotel. Some people are hotel people, some people are B&Bs, but I have found even the people who were like resistant to B&Bs, just like, oh, I don't know if I want to be in somebody's house. A lot of the B&Bs have been converted. So it's like, even though it's their home, they've got a whole wing of kind of apartments over here. So you're not like walking through the kitchen and seeing, the guy standing at the kitchen counter in his underwear. It's kind of separate from that. But what I have found is even my B&B resistant clients that are like, oh, okay. And you can always switch out to a hotel for most of our itineraries if you don't want to stay in a B&B. Some of them you have to, because it's just the nature of where we are. But what we have found with even our most B&B resistant client is they come back and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad we did that. We're best friends with the host family. We're going, blah, blah, blah. They told us so many places to go. And, they all work with us too. So, at night you come in, sometimes you're cold. Sometimes if you're not cold, you're wet.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They tell you, dump your clothes in the hallway. They're going to take them and wash them and dry them. And then they'll take you down to the local pub so you can, have dinner for the night, so they're an integral part of what we do. They're very important to what we do.
I just have 2 questions. The first one, though, what is the best thing to wear there if it rains? Do you have like a specific jacket or coat that you say really repels the rain or something like that? Or do
okay, so I'm a big fan of waterproof riding pants. And you don't have to get the riding pants because, all of us that are in the horse world knows if it has horse attached to it, it's definitely more expensive. You can get this at Dick's, you can get this at Cabela's, you get it at Walmart, just, the pull-on waterproof pants. It just, I ride in kind of like a waterproof duster, that kind of is longer in the back, but I also have the short jacket depending if it's going to be like in the summer. I don't wear the duster usually in the middle of the summer. Although some places, if you're riding on the North Coast or even down in Killarney, because I do a lot of mountain riding up there, I'll say bring a longer coat, but it's all about layering. But there's not a particular like brand, you don't have to do the old oilcloth, although there's a lot of people who do. But just a nice breathable raincoat.
And then the
rain pants. But I always tell people if you bring it, you won't need it. If you don't bring it, you will definitely need it.
Right. That's very true. And then the other question, say you're a person that's just coming by yourself and you're a little timid, you really want to go. So we would talk to you or whatever and just say, so to help a person along like that, do you have availability of saying, oh, this person's coming, we need to be sure we kind of take them here, there, or whatever, if they're by themselves? Or is it just all fall into shape,
Yes. So like I said, we have a lot of solo riders. And all of our hosts are, I mean, I'm telling you, it's like family. Like, that's what I think people love about it. They show up, the driver drops them off, and, here comes the host family out of their house going, come on in, have a cup of tea. The first thing, they're going to always ask you for a cup of tea. You will drink more cups of tea in Ireland than you'll ever know what to do with. It's cups of tea. Come in, have a cup of tea. Have a tea and scone. It's, by the way, it's scone on the North Coast and it's scone in the South.
That's so cute.
So you're always going to be eating and you're always going to be drinking in Ireland.
Wow.
And they just have a way of just, they'll take you under their wing. Our drivers are really good with, we use the same drivers of, making sure that they will be there when you land. They have a sign. They'll be right up front. They'll say Ireland Equestrian Tours in your name. And, by the time you even get to your destination, you'll feel like you're best friends with your driver. You'll know all about his family. He'll know all about yours.
So cute.
And it's
sweet.
It's
very nice.
I've never had anybody leave saying, I did not feel like welcome. In fact, I've had 2 riders that have actually gone back and stayed with the host family separately to help them work their trekking.
How
So
sweet.
That's cool.
That's neat.
And that's what we do. And we really take the approach, like it's myself and Ashley. And if you go on our website, you'll see our pictures. So it's just us on the front end. And I created this company. I didn't want it to be stuffy. I didn't want it to be snooty. I didn't want to be, it is down, it is
Comfortable.
This is me,
Yeah.
Down to earth.
Right.
Yeah,
Real people.
we I don't have time.
Right.
Here's my southerner
love it.
coming in.
That's
I don't
great.
have time for that.
Right. There you go. There you go.
And everybody's there just to have a great time. I've got some clients that they'll save a whole year to do this vacation or longer. I have some clients that's just like, on a whim, I'll do it. We treat everybody the same. It's although most people have to save a year to go.
Yes.
I will preface this.
Sure.
I think that's the biggest
Right.
challenge. I think most people have
I
to plan
agree.
for this, but no, I created this company where we are approachable. You can ask a million questions. You don't be embarrassed about your riding level or, if, or your fears. I mean, let's be honest, riding can be scary.
Very much so.
We have a lot of clients who have never ridden out of a ring before. That's a fact. So they get to Ireland, they're like, oh my gosh, we're riding on the side of this, country road. But these are the things that we talk you through. The horses are very well schooled. They know their jobs. They will take care of their riders, and you'll also fill out like a rider profile. I send a host of paperwork, and one of it is called a rider profile, and that is your opportunity to tell us what your riding ability. How long you've been riding. When was the last time you rode?
Right.
What kind of horse do you like? Do you want a kick ride? Do you want something you have to kick along every stride, or do you want something that's kind of it's like kind of ready to go? But I will tell you this: I've had so many people say, "Oh, I want a kick ride. I want a horse that you have to kick along every step of the ride." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." By the second day,
so
they're
tired.
like,
Yeah.
"Can we trade horses?"
Right.
And you
Right,
can, by
right,
the way, you can change out horses.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we want people when they reach out to us that they know that they're talking to a live person. We're a boutique agency on purpose. I created this way. I will never grow. I'll never let this thing grow up beyond where I came from in my corporate career, because I think you lose the human touch on that.
Yes,
you know?
very much so. And this makes
So
it
as
so
you guys
wonderful.
probably know, being
Yes.
family, and
Yes.
that's kind of what sells
Right.
us.
Right.
That people go, oh my gosh, we're talking to a live person. I don't know
Right.
about the other operators out there, but but yeah, no, we work very hard to do that. And then but once you're in Ireland, I don't worry about it at all. The Irish are they're so amazing, and it is guaranteed to have I can guarantee you everything except for it won't rain. That's the only thing I can guarantee that you're going to have a great time. I
Sounds
can guarantee
wonderful.
you will, it'll be one of the best trips you've ever had, but I can't promise you there will be no rain.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll enter our next segment, Canter Banter.
Our next segment, Canter Banter, is brought to you by Ram Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984. Do you love horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our brand new blog at www.yourhorsefarm.com. We publish 3 posts per week and feature a free printable equine checklist every month. yourhorsefarm.com is a great equine online resource, so be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often.
Okay, so, all right, so our itineraries that include beach riding, a lot of them, you have specific times you have to be on and off the beach. And people are like, oh my gosh, why am I having a 7 a.m. pickup? It's like, because those are the beach rides that we, will, because the tide's out. So we're all about, we're tide dependent here on the beach. Yeah. Now, if you're on a bay, not a problem, but we ride on open ocean. So a lot of times, it's the tide goes out.
Yeah.
But a lot of places that we ride, we can get to these little islands here and there because the tides are out. And so that's why it's very important that we get on the beach and we're off when we need to be off. And then we come back when we need to come back.
You need to watch the tides.
Right. And unfortunately, it's always me. I'm the always one, because I get out there and I start taking pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
Comes the tide.
And I have to, I'll get off the horse and I'm taking the picture while everybody canters by, because I want to get as much footage as I can. But usually what happens when that happens is that I stay out a little bit too long. Now, I haven't done this with actual clients, so I want to preface this. This is, these are with like my friends that go riding, so they can deal with it. But there has been more than one occasion that we're coming back, and we're coming back, on the way we came, and all of a sudden there's water everywhere, and we're like, okay. How do we get from this dry land through that water back onto the mainland? Now we can backtrack, and it's going to take like 2 hours, or we can go through it. Yes. And a lot of times we have to go through it.
Yeah, I love it.
And the horses, they swim perfect. It's not over their head. It's not over their head at all. Yeah. But I can assure you, you are soaking wet. Yes. This is why I always tell people to bring like Ziploc bags or something you can zip. And you cannot, if you're not in a position to dry your pet, because you will get wet a lot of times when you are riding out on the beach. Now that's usually only when I'm there and I hold up the group, and we can't get back in because the tide's coming in, because I swear the tide comes in a whole lot faster than it goes out. And that has happened on numerous occasions. So if anybody's listening to this podcast, if you want to know why sometimes you have to leave at 7:30 in the morning, that is why. Otherwise you are swimming back.
There you go.
And then the other story I have 2 stories.
I just want to say, I want to ride with you, with your friends. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Go ahead. No.
You never know what you get into. You never know what you get into. So we do hunt in Ireland, and we offer 2 types of hunting. We do traditional hunting, and then we do drag hunting. And the drag hunting, you're still going out with the hounds. It's still the whole thing. It's just it's like we do here in the States.
Yes.
They drag a scent, and you're out hunting for the day. And so in Ireland, within Ireland, there's regions of hunt country. So most people think of Galway. That's where we ride on the West Coast in Connemara and Galway. And those are the stone walls. And the reason why we ride there a lot is that that's what, American riders or US riders are used to riding, what we call uprights. You're jumping a fence, But in other parts of Ireland, it's called the drains and the ditches. And that is an entirely different beast, because the drains and the ditches are what actually keeps, the farms separated. So instead of a wall, there's this 10, 15 foot deep ditch that's also 10 feet wide across. Okay. So you don't canter at these ditches. You actually walk up to the end, and your horse, I should also say this, Irish hunt horses are either upright hunt horses or ditch and bank horses, because they jump differently. They're trained differly, So I would say you'd never, I'm sure there are some horses, but we do not have horses on our string that would hunt in Galway and would go hunt in ditch and drain country down in Limerick, say, for example, because these horses have a job. So they walk up to the end of the ditch, and first of all, you don't look down. Because the first thing you do when you look down is just like, oh my God, oh geez,
right.
But you don't look down.
Right.
But so you walk up to the end of the ditch, and the horse kind of rocks itself back, and then it launches across the ditch. Now when you don't look down, it actually is quite smooth, because you're just kind of going from here to here. Okay, it's actually kind of smooth. And sometimes if it's higher on this end, the horse will walk down the ditch a little bit to where he's shooting across. You just let them do their job. That's
so cute.
When people go, how do
Trust
I? Now
them.
we don't do a lot of hunting in ditch country. If somebody asks me, because they've done it before, we'll go. But none of our rides are in that country. this is just a personal story. So that's how you ride the ditches. So you want to make sure your horse makes it across the ditch.
Yes.
So I was riding, actually my Connemara pony. I have a Connemara pony named Go-Go, who at the time his name wasn't Go-Go. His name was, I just made it up, like Nigel. I was just riding him, I wanted to buy a Connemara, and they're like, and this is how the Irish are. They're like, oh, here, just try him.
Aww.
You can hunt him.
Oh, it's so sweet.
In ditch country. So I'm riding a horse I've never sat on him before, in Ireland hunt country, in ditch country. I would not recommend this to anybody. But we had the best time, and he was amazing. And that's why I brought him home. And I told him, okay, well, I should say this. It sounds very, at one point in the hunt, I said to him, if you get me home alive, I promise you, I will bring you to America.
Coming home.
And he did. Yes. So that's why he ended up with me.
Yes.
That's not the funny story. So we were at probably our third ditch, and like I said, you don't run at these ditches. It's actually quite organized and lined up. It's just you have to wait your turn to jump this big ditch. And it was actually opening hunt, and we went to jump across the ditch, and on the other side was just ground cover, because it's farmers' fields. And what I thought was the ground wasn't. It's where they mowed the grass down. You know how kind of like when you bale hay, how it lays down. And so he came across and he made it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. We made it. And then in the slow motion level, we're going backwards. And we literally, in the slowest motion, just slid down into this 10-foot drain ditch. So I'm looking up at everybody. I don't know what to do. Everybody's laughing. My horse is doing nothing. He's just doing nothing. And I'm like, okay, is this thing going to panic? Is he going to kind of crawl the ditch and and hurt me? Nope. He just hung out, because that's what they do. And they're all like, oh, They threw their whip down. I got out. Another person jumped in, took off his martingale, took off his bridle, and went, huh, huh, huh. And the horse jumped out of the ditch on the other side. And they're like, okay, away we go. And literally the rest of the hunt, I kept thinking, what in the world just happened? I was panicked. Like, how am I going to get this horse out? Oh my gosh, I don't even own this horse.
And they're laughing.
They're all laughing. They're just like, take up his bridle, take up his martingale. Like, you climb up, and then the horse just popped out like he's done it a million times.
That is so cool. Oh, I love it.
That is the thing that I love about the Irish. Nothing is serious. And I have been in situations where, like that. I mean, I think I had adrenaline shooting out of the end of my fingertips.
Right.
And I'm never doing this again. This is the worst idea I've ever had. I've had some really bad ideas in my life, and that is one of them. But honestly, at the end of the day, it was such a good time. But the Irish have such a way of just being like, whatever, you're fine. We're gonna have a good time. They call it the crack, by the way. So if anybody says to you, you're gonna have good crack, it's not like what we think crack is. Crack actually means a really good time. So
just sounds so wonderful.
But his horses are all for sale. That was my point.
Does he?
His point was, he's got, a lot of his trekking horses are for sale, because we do. Trail riding is a huge industry, as you guys probably know.
Yes.
You think it's just like, the big disciplines, Western, but no. You know what we didn't talk about? Riders, English Western riders.
Oh yeah. I was going to ask that. I did
Go
forget.
ahead.
But you do accommodate for different disciplines then.
Yes. So we ride. So obviously we ride in English tack. It's Ireland, but we do have a few partners that have some Western saddles. We have a partner in County Clare that has some Western saddles. A few that we can prearrange. Our partner in Killarney has what they call Swiss Ranger saddles. So think of like Australian outback saddles. It's like a big wide English saddle with. It doesn't have a horn, but it's a big wide pommel. So we have that.
Right.
And then a lot like our North Coast partner. And even our Westport partner, even though they're in English saddle, the horses are very drafty type. So they really fill out the leg, so even if you are a Western rider, because I've always said, I grew up next door to a huge AQHA farm, and that was kind of how I learned how to ride. My horses were, always in that program, and, good riding is good riding in any saddle. There's no doubt about it. But I do say, if anybody is a Western rider, I think a lot of my Western friends like post the trot when they're out, on the trails. But if you can post a trot, and if you can 2-point in a canter, you're going to be fine.
Exciting. That's fun.
Yeah.
We will get there. So, so the horses are for sale. And if you, like your horse that you purchased then, just briefly, you decided you want to purchase the horse, then it doesn't have to be anything, but you need to ship it over, send it over, and then there's probably a quarantine for some time. And is that kind of what it entails then for?
Correct.
Okay.
So basically how it works, if you did want to bring a horse back. So I work with a company called EIS, and her name is Andrea O'Brien, and she kind of does a lot of the shipping out of Ireland. And you basically call her up and you go, well, first of all, you do your, when you decide your horse, you would, vet them out if you wanted to vet out. They do, they do vets as simple as, flex vetting all the way up to back x-rays if they want. And then Andrea literally is turnkey, just like me. You would call her up. You would say, this is the horse. She comes and gets it. She arranges all the transport. She arranges all the papers, literally. And the horse ends up in New York, where you would have a shipper pick it up in New York and
Take
show
it
up in your
home.
farm in Ohio.
That is so cool.
Wherever you are.
That is awesome.
It was
I did not
easy,
know
because
that it could be that easy. Yeah.
No, I did not either. And I was nervous here's my Southern, what is the saying? Nervous as a cat in a room full of rockers. Is that
That's so cute. I love it. That's so cute.
That's
so
literally
sweet.
how I was when I brought my horse over, because I've never imported one before. It was so easy. I was kind of like, okay, this is not
Too
right.
easy
This is not right.
almost.
And nope, it was. She takes pictures, and here's your horse in Ireland. Here's your horse in the ferry going over. Here's your horse in Belgium. Here's your horse in the plane, and then your horse is in New York, and then it's that easy.
Well, thank you so much for telling us all of that. I just thought things like that would be so difficult, so that's so good to know.
Everything is so turnkey now, and there's always, it's incredible how small the world has gotten. Because I remember, just at a side story, my mom, I said my mom's from Ireland, so we literally used to have to go. This is the beginning, from Atlanta to New York to London, London to Belfast, or London to Dublin, and then up. And the roads in Ireland, a lot of people don't want to drive because they hear about how thin, first of all, you drive on the other side of the road. So your steering wheels are on the other side. And, is it hard to drive? No. Does it take some time to get used to? Yes. Would I rent a stick shift? No. Even though I drive one, because you're shifting with your left hand.
Right. Oh goodness. That would be so backwards.
But everything has changed over the years. Now there's major highways in Ireland. It used to take us almost 5.5 hours to get from Dublin up to Belfast and the North Coast, or where my family lives, and now it's not even 3 because of the big highways. They still have those little country roads, but everything's become modernized, including shipping. It's not even a big deal. I think horses ship over every single day. There was 40 horses on my horses.
Crazy.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Wow. I just had no idea. Wow.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like us to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@ramfence.com, or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.